Good morning, Year 4. It's Wednesday and it's time for English again. So I'd like you all to jump up to your feet and we will just get ourselves moving with a quick warm-up. Okay, right. First thing that I want you to do is legs apart slightly and we're going to do some squats. Okay, so you bend right down as low as you can to a few of those. Okay, well done. That's brilliant. Okay, and you can bring your arms forward as you do that. Okay, right, march on the spot. Try nice high knees and get those arms swinging as well. And of course, smiles on our face. Right, you can march round in a circle. Well done. And march back the other way. Right, okay. What I'd like you to do, legs apart, opposite hand to opposite foot. Okay, and come back up in the middle. Well done. Do that a few times. Good. Right, okay. And then up, middle, and we'll swing our arms around and bend our knees at the same time. Then we'll go the other way. Right, I wonder if we can do some lunge jumps. We put one foot in front of the other, and you switch sides, and you jump as if you're running. Get those arms pumping, but we're just staying on the spot. Well done. Gets tiring after us, keep doing that for a little bit. Waking ourselves up. Well done, everybody. Right, then we'll do some little jumps. You can get your arms going up as you do that. Okay. Well done. And we'll finish with some star jumps. Nice straight arms as you go out. Well done. We are ready to get started. Well done, everybody. Now, remember, we are looking out for Monty and Blueberry. They are somewhere hiding. They've got themselves into a little hiding position. And we've got to look, take note of what's around and see what changes throughout this session when Blossom has come along and moved something. Okay. Right, so today it is Wednesday the 10th of February and we are planning a newspaper report. If you remember on Monday I said to you that we are going to be writing a newspaper report about the Viking raids at Lindisfarne. So write the date and Walt, beautiful joined up handwriting, underline your date and Walt, pause the video while you do it and then we're ready to start. Right, we are going to start with our 5 a day. I am going to read out the questions and you can answer them as we go along and then we'll go through the answers. So there are some sentences here and I want you just to write down in your book whether it is sentence 1, 2 or 3 that uses a comma correctly in the sentence. So before we began driving, we all put our seatbelts on. Before we began driving, we all put our seatbelts on. Before we began driving, we all put our seatbelts on. Now, hopefully I've read those in a way that you can see where I paused, where the comma was, where was the correct pause. So just write, was it sentence 1, 2 or 3? Right, next question. Put an M if the underlined clause is main or if S if it is subordinate. Just a reminder, a main clause makes sense completely by itself. The subordinate clause only makes sense with the rest of the sentence. So look at the first sentence. He could get ready quickly if he could find his coat. The bit that is underlined is he could find his coat. Is that the main clause or is that a subordinate clause? Just write M or S. And the second sentence, although his brother was being horrible, Joe wanted to play. And the bit that is underlined is although his brother was being horrible. Is it M or is it S? Is it main or subordinate? Next question. Which word completes the sentence correctly? So again, in your books, you just need to write the word. When Jim was at the shops, decided to buy some sweets. So was it he, she, they, his, or them to make that sentence make sense? If you need to pause the video, you can do, just have a think. Question 4, circle the verbs in the sentence. We watched the grey kitten as she played happily with her new toy. There are 2 verbs. Write down the 2 verbs in your book and pause the video if you need to. And finally, the last question, put the speech marks into the correct place in the sentence below. Mrs. Bevins said, I think it is time that we knew where to put speech marks in sentences. Okay, I think that should say know where to put speech marks in sentences. Okay, so pause the video while you get your answers down and then we will go through them. Okay, so looking at the answers, first question, tick the sentences that use a comma correctly. Hopefully you all wrote down it was sentence 3. Before we began driving, we all put our seatbelts on. This is the correct one. Question 2. The bit that is underlined in the first sentence, he could get ready quickly if he could find his coat, is a subordinate clause. It doesn't make sense on his own if he could find his coat. So you should have put an S. And for the second sentence, although his brother was being horrible, Joe wanted to play. Okay. And again, that is our subordinate clause. The Joe wanted to play makes sense on its own. The other bit doesn't. Okay. So both of those are subordinate clauses. Which word correctly completes the sentence? When Jim was at the shops, decided to buy some sweets. Hopefully you realize Jim is a boy, and so it was he decided to buy some sweets. Circle the verb in the sentence below. I said to you there were 2. We've got, remember the verb is the doing word. So it's watched and played. Give yourselves a tick if you got that. And then put the speech marks in the correct place. So Mrs. Bevins said, that's not the bit that's being spoken. The part that is being spoken is, I think it is time that we know where to put speech marks in sentences. And you can see I've changed the new to know. Okay, so add up what you got, count how many you got, and then I will tell you what exercise you are going to do. So if you got 1 correct, you are doing star jumps, 2 correct squat jumps where you do a squat and you jump, 3 correct frog jumps where you crouch down like a frog and jump up, 4 correct is plank, and then 5 correct is your choice. Count what you've got and your time starts now. Okay, so if you're managing to choose, maybe you want to do a mix of all of the activities, that's perfectly fine. The most important thing is we're all jumping to our feet and we are all keeping active and having a go. Just trying your best at these movements, and they may start to hurt a little bit, so you just do it a little bit easier. You don't want to give yourself an injury or anything. You are doing so well. We're down to our last 10 seconds now, and we've now got 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Very well done, everybody. Okay, so let's have a think about this newspaper report. Now, before we can plan one, we need to think about the features. What is in a newspaper report? Okay, and they have lots of different features that attract the person reading it. They make the person want to read the report. So I wonder if you can think of anything. If you think about a newspaper, maybe there's one around your house. Can you think of anything that is on that newspaper that stands out, that makes you want to read it? Pause your video, have a think, and then we'll go through. Okay. Did you come up with some of the following? The name at the top of the newspaper. So usually you would see the name of a paper, the Telegraph, the Times, the Daily Star, the Mail, whatever it is. Okay, there would be a name of a newspaper at the top. Then you would have a headline. That is the line, the title of your newspaper article. Okay, and that would be in bold, and it's usually quite catchy. Okay, then the really important thing is you would have a paragraph that includes the 5 W's. 5 W's are the who, what, where, why, and when. And we'll talk a little bit more about that when we come to write our report. Also on newspapers, we have photographs usually with a caption, and we've done work on non-fiction text. The caption tells you what the picture is about. Okay, and then of course you have the facts about the event of your article, telling us what's interesting. And if it's in the newspaper, it needs to be interesting. It's got to be the interesting bits. And when we write a newspaper report, we always write in the third person. In other words, he, she, and they. And we always write in the past tense because we are telling something that has already happened. So you don't talk as if it's happening now. You talk about it as if it happened yesterday. Okay. Another thing we can include, you have some quotes. Now, again, in a newspaper report, you don't want too many quotes because it'll then get a bit, your newspaper, the information would be lost with all these quotes. But usually you would maybe include 1 or 2, and you can have what's called direct speech, where you would say, Mr. Jones said, this has been terrible, and that is direct quote. Or you might have what we call indirect speech, where you say, the police of London have told us that they thought it was a terrible shame, where you are retelling what somebody else said. But again, we will talk a little bit more about that when we come to write our reports. And then at the end, you might have a conclusion. So lots of things we need to include in our newspaper report. Now, the headline grabs interest, okay? Sometimes it has alliteration where you have the same, each word starts with the same letter. Sometimes there is rhyme in it. Sometimes you have a bit of a play on words, okay? And we're just going to have a look at a couple of headlines, okay? So look, Roman coin surprise for Mrs. Ship, okay? Another one, back to Earth with a bump. That's quite a clever play on words. This is about space and someone's come back down from the moon. Lucky lottery winners win again. You can see there's some alliteration of lucky and lottery. Okay, Baggins is back. So it's got to be short and snappy and grab the reader's attention. Wicked Wolf gets his just desserts. Then we have what we call the 5W paragraph. So you've got your headline, that's already got me interested. And this opening paragraph needs to give me the key facts really quickly. What's happened? Okay, so 5W questions. Okay, when did it happen? And where did it happen? Who was involved? And why did it happen? Each of those questions starts with a W, which is why we call it the 5Ws. What, when, where, who, and why, okay? And you would literally have that in your first paragraph. So you would start your event, for example, the Viking Raids, you might say, in AD 709, on the 8th of June, AD 793, the Vikings invaded Lindisfarne to steal their treasure, okay? We've talked about the Vikings, that was our who. We've said it was at Lindisfarne. We said when it was. We said they invaded Lindisfarne to get treasure. So in one sentence, I have managed to answer all of those questions. And that's what your paragraph is like. You maybe need 2 sentences, but it's short and snappy, telling me that detail. Okay. So we've got an example here. After a 6-month stay on the International Space Station, astronauts Tim Peake, Yuri Malenchenko and Timothy Kopra have finally returned home to Earth. Okay, so have we got the 5Ws? When did it happen? After a 6-month stay. Where? On International Space Station. Who was there? Tim Peake, Yuri Malenchenko and Timothy Kopra. And why? We haven't quite learned why, but probably if we read on a bit, we would find out. Okay. Next, we want to try and include, again, in your report, I'm going to say 1 picture, 1 caption. Okay, and it obviously would need to be of the interesting thing that's happened. And explain, the caption tells you what the picture is about. So let's have a quick look. For example, here, there is a picture of some runners. What might this caption say? If you look at these runners here, and there's one here, what might they say? Might say, whatever the name of the person is, took an early lead by taking a false start. Okay, so it's just a brief description of what is going on. Then obviously in your newspaper report, you have the main events that are going on in the story and you detail it. Okay, and we'll talk more about that when we do it. And then we have our quotations, which I've already briefly talked about. Okay, so here's an example. We were all jumping around and dancing in the living room. We never believed it could happen again, Alicia commented. That is direct speech. It's exactly what Alicia said. And that's why it's got speech marks around the part that Alicia spoke. Okay. Sally asked me to stop working because I was about to hit whatever she'd seen. I hadn't even spotted them, commented builder Carl Webb. Again, another example of direct speech there. Okay, during these checks, Peake was asked how it felt to be home. The smells of Earth are so strong and it's wonderful to be back in the fresh air. So again, another example of direct speech, but this time you're putting the person who's speaking at the start. Okay. And then we've got another example there if you want to read that one through. Okay. Obviously in that you can also include indirect speech where you are saying what somebody has told somebody else. Okay, like I said to you before, you might say Mr. Bloggs is reported to have said that he's very fed up of all the digging, for example. Okay, now he didn't directly say that to the reporter, but it's what you've heard they've said. And that is also a way to bring in what somebody has said. Then, as in all pieces of writing, we usually have a conclusion and you have a concluding paragraph telling the reader what might happen next. Now, in your folders for today, you have got this newspaper report, the Roman coin surprise for Mrs. Ship. And what I'd like you to do is spend a few moments, you can pull it up onto the screen, have a read through of it. I'm not going to read it through with you. Have a read through, have a look at the way it is set out. You can see just by looking at it, it's got a picture with a caption. You can see we've got our headline. We've also got a byline. This is underneath. That tells us who the report has been written by. We've got our 5W paragraph at the start, and then we've got the main events in the bulk of the report. So have a look through and see if you can spot those things, okay? So hopefully you've had a look through at that. Let's just have a check. So you've spotted the headline, okay? And hopefully you spotted the introductory paragraph with the 5 Ws, okay? Hopefully you spotted the facts about the main event. And did you also spot the quotations that were in there, where you've got the speech marks? And did you also spot the name of the newspaper at the top? This example, Twinkle Times. And did you also spot that it's written in the third person in the past tense? And finally, the concluding paragraph explaining what might happen next. Okay, and then we've got our caption and our picture. If you didn't spot those things, maybe have a look through it now and see where they are. So you can always pause the video again, have a check, get your idea of what a newspaper looks like. Remember also, when we write a newspaper, we do it in columns, and you can see there, you read down this first column and then go on to the next column. Right, it is your turn to have a go at planning your report. On Monday, you found out lots of information about the Viking raids on Lindisfarne, and we are now going to report about this event. In the folder, there are some planning grids, okay? And it says planning grids, all group. Africa, you are going to do the 1-star one, okay? You can see where the star is at the bottom there, okay? And you're basically going to fill in this information. If I just stop showing up, I'll be able to hold it up a bit bigger. Okay, you're going to fill in this information about your newspaper. So it's basically helping you to plan it out. Try and answer each box in as much detail as possible, because this will help you write your own report. Okay. Asia and Europe, you are going to do the 2-star one. You can see there's the 2 stars to indicate what you want, what I would like you to do. Okay, and you fill in those gaps. And then Americas, I'd like you to fill in the 3-star one. Now, the better you fill this in, the easier you'll find writing your report tomorrow. Okay, so the more detail you put in now, the quotations, what headline you're going to have, what captions you're going to have, the more you think about it now, the easier it will be when you do your writing tomorrow. Okay, so I do expect you to spend a good 20 minutes to 30 minutes on these, really thinking about what you are going to include. Okay, and then obviously tomorrow you'll be writing the report that you're going to send in to us. So it's all about getting the planning right and thinking about what information on the Viking raids and Lindisfarne are the key things that you need to put into it. Okay, obviously the 5 Ws, when did it happen? Where did it happen? Why did it happen? Who did it happen with? Okay, and there's one other, who, what, why, where, why, what did they come for as well? Okay, then some key facts about the raids. Try and make up a couple of quotes that you might want to include. There were some on the PowerPoint from Monday, or you can make one up. Okay, although we are reporting a factual event, you can make up a quote. Maybe you'll have a monk who survived saying, it was absolutely terrifying when the Vikings arrived. Just a short quotation of something that one of the characters, people who would have been there, might have said. Okay. If you've got any questions about that, do get in touch with us. Otherwise, I hope that makes sense. I hope you managed to plan out a good newspaper report. Right, just to finish, okay, where are Blueberry and Monty? That's right. Blueberry was hiding in the drawer and Monty was hiding just over here behind the box. Did you manage to spot both of them? Okay, hang on a minute. Right, Blueberry's saying that he hasn't actually hidden anything yet. So what he'd like you to do is he'd like you to close your eyes and he's going to move something, but you must close your eyes, okay? So everybody close your eyes and count to 10. Did you all do that properly and not look when Blueberry was moving? Right, so, sorry, Blossom. I'm getting very confused today. This is Blueberry, this is Blossom. So, sorry, Blossom. Have we spotted what Blossom has moved? Well done if you spotted that Blossom moved that pen that was over there and moved it out of the way. Quite difficult, that one. Well done, Blossom. That was a good game. Thank you for that. Right, so enjoy writing your plans. Have a brilliant Wednesday, and I will see you all soon. Bye for now.